I think Justin will tell you that our team is. Justin, maybe you want to.
Okay.
That.
So I think we actually have our team here. John has a Board of Trustees meeting he's in right now, and Mike is unavailable on a train currently. So are you guys missing anyone from your team that you're waiting to join?
I don't think so. I think everyone that was available is here.
Perfect. All right. Well, are you ready for us to get started then?
I think we're ready. Yes. Thanks, Justin. Should we do introductions?
Perfect. All right. So it is September 11th, 2023. It is 2 o'clock, and we're having an impact bargaining session to talk about post-tenure review. I'd like to thank everyone on my team who's here today and also on UFF, as well as all of our faculty attendees that we have in the attendee group here. We're thank you for making time today. Before we get into our presentation, we might as well introduce ourselves. So my name is Justin Sorrell. I'm an attorney in the Office of the General Counsel. Mike Matamore can't be with us today, so I am here going to be presenting information. I would ask that you all have a little bit of patience with me because not only is Mike gone, but John is gone. And those are two very helpful people for the Brain Trust. So there might be questions you ask me that I can't answer on the spot. And so if you all have questions today, just if you'd give me a little bit of patience if we caucus so I can make sure I get the right answer to you all today. So that's me. Chip?
Chip Klostermeyer, CCEC, Marianne.
Marianne Jaffe, Academic Affairs. Rosemary?
Rosemary Ponce Ferguson, HR, Department of Labor Relations.
And we have Courtney here for IT support if anything should come up, but she's going to be having her monitor down.
Excellent. And I am Angela Mann. I'm the chief negotiator for UFF UNF. Thank you so much to our faculty and other audience members who join us today. I will punt it over to Tobias.
Hello, everybody. Tobias Halling. I'm the president of UFF at UNF and an associate professor of management. And I'm kicking it to Beza.
Hi, Beza Aslan, Associate Professor of Mathematics. Alex.
Hello, Alexandra Schoening with Mechanical Engineering, and I'll send it to you, Bart.
Bart Welling, Associate Professor English. We love our faculty. Thank you for being with us.
That's it for who was able to make it today.
Perfect.
On our team.
All right. Well, are you ready for us to make our presentation?
Yes, I think that we are.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this by a PowerPoint, and I'm going to try to do it by sharing a screen. So let me pull this thing up and make sure that it works. Okay. All right. All right. Can you all see a slide for PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. So again, thank you all for being here today. I want to recognize that it is September 11th, which is an important day of contemplation in our country as we think about the events of 9/11. So we're dealing with something very important here with post-tenure review, but also there are people who might be having an even more difficult day as they remember those events or people they might have lost. So for me, that's helped keep things in perspective. So where we are today is, I think this is our 14th impact bargaining session that we've had since early June. And we're hoping that we're able to wrap everything up today. Today, the Board of Trustees is having their agenda posted for their upcoming Monday meeting, and all the materials that are being considered by them are being posted up today. So I'm looking forward to being able to share what I hope to be a completed policy and procedures with you all today. And there's really only a very few outstanding items left. And I'm actually going to run through a couple that are just suggestions. So these are things that I would suggest you take a look at, but it's not going to hold up the show if you say, no, thank you, Justin, we don't want to take that proposal. So let me start with these suggestions, and then we'll move on to the real meat of our conversation today, which is the good idea that UFF had last time of the notion of a warning memo that the deans and the provost could issue as a part of the post-tenure review process. So first, here are some suggestions. Okay, so here is a suggestion on just the policy language. I've displayed up there the only spot in which our proposal had any difference at this point in the policy. On the right, you'll see the UFF team's proposal, and on the left, you'll see the our side's proposal. And the only difference is in our version, we have the Board of Governors language inserted, which, you know, that's their criteria on what these different categories mean. So to be very clear, we can accept the UFF team's proposed language here, but we do invite you during your caucus to consider our language one more time. And, you know, we have to submit our policy to the Board of Trustees to approve. And then in October, we have to submit it to the Board of Governors for their approval as well. In my past experience dealing with policies, when they see language that's missing, say perhaps in our student code of conduct, we will get an intern at the BOG who will send us an email saying, you're missing this language, where is it? And then in this situation with post-tenure review, we would point them to the procedures. Based on a comment that Alexandra had made in a prior meeting, there may be an assumption that the procedures won't go to the Board of Governors. I just think that if this language isn't in our policy, we're more likely to be in the situation of producing our procedures to the BOG as well, which will be fine if that's what we do, but just wanted to point that out. So I would encourage you guys to give that one last look in your caucus today. And I also want to say, I understand, and I think my whole team understands, that by coming to an agreement on policy language, we don't think that the UFF is saying that you agree with the concept of post-tenure review. Dr. Huning made a great comment at the Faculty Association meeting that we have a legal requirement because of this current law from Tallahassee to come up with post-tenure review, which is what we're doing. We recognize that you and faculty may not agree with the process, but that fight is really in Tallahassee. And I know that on certain aspects of the most recent legislative cycle, the UFF is engaged in litigation to stop certain pieces of it. So I just want to say that I recognize that by coming to agreement on the policy, we are not trumpeting that UFF agrees that PTR is a good thing. Far from it. We understand. We've heard you loud and clear. The second suggestion is just a simplification. This is in the clause when we have in the procedures now, we flipped over to the procedures, a piece about what these various words mean, like average performance of faculty, expected level of accomplishment, and normal range. And so we've come to an agreement that that language is guided from the department guidelines, and in the absence of that, the CBA. There was just this one piece of the sentence that made an already long sentence even longer and didn't seem to be adding any value. We would just suggest that this piece that has been stricken out here be removed in the final version. Something for y'all to look at. Okay. This next one is a clarification piece that I don't think is going to be controversial, but we wanted to make sure that it was clear. So we are essentially in agreement on the compensation piece for successfully passing through post-tenure review. In your last proposal, in subpoints 1, 2, and 3, it said that you get this compensation for each 5-year PTR cycle. And I'm pretty sure what you meant is that every time you go through PTR, you're eligible for this. It's not even though we use the word one time, we don't mean that it's only really one time. It's just every time you go through post-tenure review. The problem with the language as you wrote it, it kind of reads like a multiplier for each 5-year PTR cycle. So if I'm in my 3rd PTR cycle, because it's been 15 years from now, one way to read this is that it's $4,000 times 3 or $12,000. We don't think you meant that. So we are just making a clarification up top that says faculty are eligible for the following compensation every 5-year PTR cycle if they meet the criteria. I think we're doing the same thing that y'all meant, but just clarifying that it's not a multiplier. We also clarified here that this is a increased a base salary, and the retroactivity shall be the difference between base compensation received and base compensation they would have received. Do you have any questions on that before I move on to the meat of the topic today?
Can you clarify base?
Yeah, base salary. It's what you all have as your regular salary.
Okay.
Angela, do you have any questions before I move on?
Nope, I think we're ready. Thanks, Justin.
Okay. So here we are, and let me just lay the foundation here. So in the BOG regulation, they lay out this notion of a performance improvement plan for faculty who do not meet expectations. And so the BOG gives the deans and the provost the power to issue PIPs for faculty if they are rated do not meet expectations. And the BOG doesn't provide any restrictions on the ability for the dean or provost to assign that rating. It's completely within the discretion. The ideas of AACS and all the other procedural safeguards that we've agreed to putting in place just simply don't exist in the BOG language. And we are willing today to enter into an agreement based on an idea that you all shared of warning memos in lieu of performance improvement plans in certain situations. And in coming to this compromise, we hope that you as a UFF bargaining team, but also the faculty watching, understand that we are earnestly engaged in trying to provide as many protections to faculty as we can within the limits of the law. We're not using post-tenure review to pick off or terminate faculty. I had heard one rumor that President LeMayem himself was trying to use it this way, that faculty believe that it was a personal vendetta from President LeMayem to pick off faculty. And I can just assure you, based on the countless conversations I've had with him, trying to come up with a post-tenure review policy, that is not the case at all. He sincerely wants a post-tenure review process that works and is protective of the rights of faculty. As a side, I was just talking to Simon Rhodes, our former provost, earlier today, and he said, with post-tenure review, hopefully both sides should be happy with the outcome because it will be a way to reward well-performing faculty, and also for those who aren't doing their share of the work, a way to address them and help them improve. So just want to share that bit of thought from Simon. So we really appreciate your idea of coming forward with something other than a PIP as an interim step in order to help faculty improve. And just for those faculty who may be joining us for this first time today and maybe missed the last session, under UFF's proposal, faculty who'd been evaluated at meets expectations or above could not be given a PTR rating of unsatisfactory or does not meet expectations unless there was some kind of severe or repeated conduct issue, meaning that those faculty who had always met or above would not be at risk of an immediate termination or being placed on a performance improvement plan. And then instead, you came up with this idea of a warning memo. So I'm going to flip over now and share that language that you proposed to us. So here's the idea that you all shared at the end of our last session. And we are willing to pick up on this idea in exchange for agreement today on the policy and procedures and being done with everything. But we do need to make a couple of adjustments to this language here and add content for what the effects of a warning memo would be so that there's no surprises or confusion later down the road. So first, in UFF's proposal, there's a subclause A here that says that the dean can issue a warning memo to those faculty who have consistently received ratings of meets expectations on their annual evaluations. So we took that seriously. We took it to heart. We asked IR to do a data review, and there are 0 faculty, tenured faculty, who have only gotten meets expectations. So under the strictest interpretation of this language, a warning memo couldn't be issued to anyone. So we need to be able to adjust that so that the warning memo as a tool can be used to help improve and give information to faculty that they need. The second clause here, the B clause, says that warning memos can't be issued to people who have disciplinary issues, but that clause is a little bit it makes a clause a little bit wordier, and it's not necessary, because if they do have these severe behaviors or patterns of behavior, we've already reached agreement that those faculty can be placed on that performance improvement plan. So you'll see in our version, we don't have the A clause or the B clause. So I'm going to show you what we're proposing instead now. Okay, so the first thing we add is we clarify that this warning memo is in addition to the dean's obligation under the post-tenure review regulation to issue an assessment and a recommended PTR rating. So this is a separate document, not the same letter. Second, we clarify that this warning memo, it goes to the faculty member's evaluation file if it's held up. It doesn't just live in a PTR dossier that ends at the end of the current PTR cycle. And then finally, we clarify that this warning memo can be grieved. That's an important procedural safeguard for you all. And the time of the grievance is after receiving the final outcome for the provost, because as you'll see a little bit later, we explicitly provide that the provost can reverse a dean's decision to issue a warning memo. And so I hope you see here in the way that we're drafting this, that we're trying to give important protections against a rogue dean. We've heard you say several times in the past that y'all don't have concerns about our current administration or President Lemaim, but you're worried about a future state. And so I agree. I don't know of any dean that would be rogue and target someone. But for the sake of future and uncertainty, we are giving these important protections. So what could happen is if a warning memo is issued by a dean, that's not the end of the line. After this, there's going to be a university committee that reviews it. Then it goes to the provost, and the provost has the ability to pull in an advisory committee, including UFF leadership that we've agreed on with you. And after the provost issues a decision, you still have the right to appeal or grieve the decision. So we're talking about at least a dozen people after the dean issues a warning memo who's going to be able to opine on it. And we think with that, what it means is that whatever's in this warning memo will have been thoroughly vetted. If a warning memo stands, it's because it's warranted and there is a problem that needs to be addressed. And then we want to provide some details on what happens when you receive the warning memo. So I'm going to step through. There's three things that would happen. First, if the dean issues a warning memo, they have the right then to approve and sign annual evaluations for faculty members who've been given that warning memo within the last 5 years. And this approval from the dean would follow in the same steps outlined in the CBA, right? So there's a draft annual evaluation given to the faculty member at step 18.5E. And then there is a final copy that's talked about being distributed for 18.5H. So nothing changes in the annual evaluation process. The deans are just allowed to review and sign off on them. Second, the faculty member who receives a warning memo will receive a post-tenure review again in 2 years. So if someone were to receive a warning memo this spring, in spring of 2024, they would come back through post-tenure review again in spring of 2026. And third, a faculty member who's issued a warning memo would not be eligible for post-tenure review compensation for that PTR cycle, but could be eligible in the following when they come back up in 2 years. And so let me share with you some of the benefits of this warning memo process, this idea of warning memos that y'all came up with and that we've filled out in content. Here's some benefits we see. First, it protects faculty who have been evaluated as meets expectations or above from being immediately placed on a PIP. Remember, this is authority that the BOG would otherwise give us, but we're willing to reach agreement on this to take away that power to provide additional protections to faculty. And they are given at least 2 years to improve and 3 years total if at the cycle 2 years from now they're put on a PIP. So that's 3 years to improve their performance. And we heard you earlier in our bargaining when you said if the problem someone has with research, it would be very difficult to come up with a new research agenda and complete the research and publish it out within 1 year. So this is giving a faculty member 3 years potentially to fix whatever the research problem is. And we think that's a very fair offer to help faculty improve. The warning memo has to lay out the concerns that are being expressed. It's documented and it can be grieved if necessary. So that's plenty of procedural safeguards to protect from that rogue dean. And like I said, it's more than a dozen people who get to see it even before it gets to the appeal or grievance stage. This documentation and levels of review, like I said earlier, ensures that the memo's content is warranted. We think that when post-tenure review works properly, everyone will be happy. Faculty who are frustrated at underperforming colleagues who aren't doing their work will have a way for finally for those people to have an incentive to improve. And so we will be able to help the overall quality of life for all in the university. The other benefit of the warning memo is that it gives the deans and the provost meaningful input, which is a requirement of the Board of Governors regulation. So without the ability to issue a warning memo, because we've put so much emphasis on annual evaluations, which are generated by the chairs, deans and the provosts were feeling that they didn't have a role in this, that they didn't have a role in PTR other than just acting like a Scantron. And that's not what the Board of Governors called for. They need to have a meaningful review because ultimately the deans and the provost are held accountable for the performance of their colleges. And if the colleges is not succeeding because it's not retaining accreditation or other problems are coming up, they need to be able to have a guiding hand in the process to make sure that when people need correction and an ability to improve, that they can reach out and give that correction. So finally, if we pick up on this language, so if we come to this agreement on warning memos and what they mean, we are willing as a UNF team to strike this language here that I've highlighted. Remember, for a while there, we were going back and forth on this language about who can get does not meet or unsatisfactory, and our language was here in red, and then your team added the language that remains in black. You don't have to agree with this strike if you don't want, but it does seem unnecessary now. So I'm just offering this to you all as a suggestion. If you'd like, when you come back to us, we can remove that clause. It's up to you. I don't want to rock the boat. And then finally, it's important because of all this language we've added, we want to be clear that we're preserving the CBA language, that nothing in this post-tenure review process limits the ability to evaluate or discipline pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement. I don't think that's going to be controversial because your team several times has pointed out that if there's a problem that really warrants someone being shown the door, it should be handled through discipline along the way. So we just want to make sure that nothing we've said here disturbs the ability to do what you've all said that we think we should be doing. And so just to wrap up and to kind of reiterate, what's on the table today is whether we go the path of performance improvement plans under the way the BOG allows it, or if we reach agreement on this warning memo notion. And what do we think is, what do we collectively think is best for faculty? We think that reaching agreement on warning memo today is a great solution because it allows the deans and provosts to have a guiding hand. It allows them to, allows faculty to have protection from being immediately put on a PIP. It allows them to have time to improve. And we hope it conveys the clear message that we are not interested in using PTR to target faculty and remove them. So that's our presentation for you all today. I'll send this presentation as well as our revised language in a Word document format so that you all can see it. And then we're happy to caucus. It's whatever y'all would like.
Thank you for that, Justin. It was an interesting presentation. I would like to clarify for the faculty that this is a bit of a misrepresentation of what was offered to you all with the memo. There was a specific comment on the language provided that indicated that this memo should be used in the situations that your team described, where chairs have misapplied the guidelines. And so this was never meant to be a warning memo to faculty of any kind. This was meant to clear up a discrepancy between the guidelines and the faculty members' performance that had been missed along the way. So really, more than anything, this was a tool to help administration with what you all identified as gaps in your own process in terms of the contract, which we feel is very important to continue to apply. So deans and provosts, absolutely have a role in this evaluative process. That's very clear. They have their own sections in this evaluative process. But we are not here to reopen Article 18 on performance evaluations. If there are issues in the way that your team feels that article is working right now, that needs to be brought up in reopeners, and this is not the place to remedy that. So I want to make sure that the faculty understand we're doing our best to try to meet you in the middle here. It really is not our duty to fix issues with guidelines that have been approved by the administration, or to fix issues in the way that administration is applying those guidelines. But we were attempting to do your team a favor in addressing some of the issues that you've identified towards getting towards the middle. It does not feel like what's been offered is a real effort in that same direction. So I will take my team to caucus and we'll discuss your offer. We will return to you with a response. So I hope that faculty will stick with us here. I suspect that we'll take maybe a 5-minute caucus, but we can let your team know if we need additional time. So I think we can come back at 2:35 to discuss our response with your team.
Perfect. Thanks, Angela.
Thanks. And thanks to faculty for sticking with us. Justin, it looks like both teams are back. Is your team back?
It looks like it.
Okay, great. Well, we'd like to share our response to you about the memo. It seems that there was a misunderstanding in what was offered, and so we'd like to take an opportunity to clarify. And again, just also reiterate to your team why we feel the way that we do about this. So let me see if I can get this into presentation mode. Okay. Justin, I appreciate that, the president and your team feels that this should not read as a purge or as an ability to remove faculty, but I think that is how this is being perceived. I'm going to let Alex talk a little bit more about why it's so important that the procedures and the way that we operate here at UNF is perceived as just and fair.
Thanks, Angela. So we have a few points here to explain why it's important to have these just and fair procedures. First off, when it comes to attracting and retaining faculty and making UNF the institution of choice, faculty are going to choose institutions where they feel valued, respected, and supported. And that has been my experience here at UNF for 20 years, maybe minus a couple of months. But I really do feel that's the heart of what UNF is. And I'd like to continue that path. And even when we have factors like this, external things coming from the Board of Governors pose challenges for us, we have in the past worked really, really hard to continue to have a faculty-friendly environment. So this dedication not only attracts, but also retains top talent. So that's one reason why we need to have just and fair procedures. Another reason is that we have role models. We are role models for society and have a broader influence. So as educators and influencers, we set powerful precedents and benchmarks for other institutions. And our reach goes beyond local communities and onto the global stage. We're emphasizing the importance of our operational decisions. What we do here at UNF, while we focus on, as professors, on teaching, research, and service, truly we go beyond that. Our academic mission is paramount, but so is the integrity of our institutional operations. We have to have fair and just procedures to ensure that all voices and perspectives are taken into account. They have to align, fourthly, they have to align with UNF values. So 3 of those values are integrity, respect, and accountability. So with integrity, we have to do the right thing for the right reason at the right time. Here is a time when we have a choice to make the right decisions. We have to be respectful, and that is obviously to each other, but we also have to respect and adhere to contracts and defined expectations. We have defined expectations in our collective bargaining agreement and in departmental guidelines. And we have to be accountable. We have to hold individuals accountable to abide by contracts and defined expectations and as outlined in our CBA and guidelines. And quite frankly, we have a 5th reason, and we are in the spotlight. We are in the limelight here in Florida. And in particular, our educational system is under scrutiny by other people, nationally and globally too. The world is really watching us. So our actions and procedures resonate beyond our campus, and it makes it really essential that we act with utmost integrity. So as we're moving forward and defining these procedures and finalizing them, we need to just remember what our values are.
Thank you, Alex. And again, I think that some of these values are articulated in our strategic plans. We've had a strategic goal for a while now about attracting and retaining faculty, and that has continued. And so I think again, we want to really reiterate to your team that this process should be a process that is supportive of faculty, because the university themselves, our administration, has indicated that this is a priority. And we also believe that faculty well-being is important. And beyond that, retention of the high quality faculty that we have, which your data supports, should be of paramount consideration here. So unfortunately, we want to also remind your team that we've gone backwards on this goal. In the last year, we've lost more than 5% of our permanent faculty, which is more than, again, we've lost in a 5-year period preceding that. So what are faculty going to think of this proposal today? And I think we can give you some previews. Despite the fact that the president has said, I can assure you that my narrative to our chief negotiator is to protect the interest of faculty, I'm not sure that what you've presented today will read that way. We've already presented this data to you that based on a survey we took of more than 100 faculty, it was very clear that the vast majority of faculty say that if you've met or exceeded expectations, you should be keeping your job. And that also means not being put on a PIP, whether it is formally done or informally done. So either way, the notion of a formal PIP for faculty who are meeting or exceeding, as well as this notion of the memo, which you presented today, which essentially is an informal PIP, is inappropriate, and faculty don't recognize this as a just approach to evaluations. And further, to review, which is what this is, right? This is a review of previous evaluations. We feel like actions speak louder than words, and the actions in terms of the proposal presented today do not align with what the president has said in terms of supporting faculty. It's not fair to faculty to go through a process, and these are faculty's own words, where they've been meeting expectations every year for 5 years, and then all of a sudden go through a review at PTR and are told that there's been an issue with the guidelines or a misapplication of the guidelines. Faculty should be evaluated according to clear standards. This is in line with other things the president has said about transparency and how important that is to the university, and trust, respect, right? Faculty already saying that trust in administration has been eroded because of some of what's been presented at the table. The bot proposals are too subjective. Again, we are trying to make this as concrete as possible. And what you all have presented today is an overreach. It's beyond what the BOG has asked for. It's punitive. It's asking us to modify Article 18 on performance evaluations, which is not on the table right now or open. In terms of, the motives for this, the motives for, your own team presenting data suggesting that faculty are consistently getting meets or some combination of exceeds or far exceeds, and needing to essentially go on a witch hunt to down value and down rate these faculty, really reads as the opposite of academic freedom. It reads as an opportunity for deans or other administrators to come after faculty who are critical of the university or who are critical of other policies. This proposal looks to me is causing me to look for employment in other states. Do you understand that we're all looking for jobs right now? Again, I think that what faculty are telling us is that this is counter to our goal of retaining faculty. And I want to also emphasize that this is not just about the faculty, this is about the university community as a whole. And so if we cannot reverse this trend of losing faculty, and by what your team is proposing, we would automatically lose more faculty, right? Because we'd be putting these folks through PTR 2 years after they've gone through it, despite the fact that they've been unscathed and been told they've been meeting expectations for 5 years. We 100% believe this will lead to more faculty leaving. And if that happens, if the faculty churn not only maintains but grows, what we will see is an impact on student-teacher relationships. We've already heard faculty reporting, fear essentially of what this policy means, fear about the counseling memos that were proposed earlier. And we know that this is going to impact their ability to be innovative in the classroom, but also their ability to do things that they don't receive credit for, like mentoring students off the books. So we really feel like what you're presenting today is harmful to the entire university community. And because it seems that our previous data wasn't really taken seriously, we issued a petition and disseminated this to the wider community. We've had alumni, students, parents, community members, colleagues from across the country. We've even had legislators and press reach out to us, and I think it would be good to hear what they say. So this was as of 1 o'clock. It's now 3 o'clock, and we've reached 600, close to 670 signatures on the petition. What faculty have said, or what our respondents have said, is that this move to essentially lay off or fire tenured faculty members that have fulfilled their obligations to the university, and most importantly, their students consistently, is simply wrong, as not only would UNF be unjustly putting devoted, loyal, and academically valuable faculty members out of work without any real cause, although I suspect money is playing a large role as far as considering doing this is concerned, the university would be depriving students of an opportunity to be instructed by a lot of fantastic and experienced instructors that simply cannot be replaced by just anyone. Honestly, as someone who's been part of the university alumni community, a former graduate student, and a person that has worked at UNF for the last 6 years as a part-time faculty member, I'm ashamed that the university I've devoted so much time to as a student and professor would even consider doing this. This other person saying, I love the university and have dedicated myself to making it a better place. I provide quality education and meaningful experiences for my students. They deserve to come to a place where professors are valued for teaching the truth. Another person saying, we've devoted our lives in a unique bargain, tenure. We have jumped through all of the hoops required of us and more. UNF already has a mechanism for relieving itself of faculty who don't make the grade. We teach with low pay and little research support, yet we exceed despite these obstacles. It's cruel, unusual, and demoralizing to make us jump through more. We do our part. It's time the university does theirs and protects us. Another quote, faculty performance should be measured by those best equipped to do so, professionals in their respective fields, and that is other faculty. I think this person is referring to the guidelines. This last quote, UNF's ability to attract and retain talent depends on policy decisions like these. And I can tell you that in hearing from other faculty when this was distributed, I think their sentiments echo very much the survey that was released the other day. We'll share that data again here. This is from students. I'm a student at UNF, and if they expect to take on more students, the university must hire more faculty. They shouldn't be firing the faculty that already exist and are doing their job well. As a graduate of UNF, it's incredibly important to me that the university can attract and retain quality professors. I'm against policies that will drive faculty away. I love and care about my professors. They've done so much for me. I'm a parent of UNF signing our petition. And then finally, and this is a very important point, educators should not fear for their employment without due cause protection. There are folks who've signed our petition who've indicated as HR professionals that it would be illegal for someone to be evaluated on an annual basis as meeting expectations, and then to come to this process and be told otherwise. And I just want to reiterate again, maybe your proposal about this memo means that faculty would get an informal warning, and then 2 years later would have to go through the post-tenure review process. So it's not as if faculty are immediately, fired. But the reality is we are essentially creating an answer to a problem that I'm not even sure exists. From your own data, faculty are meeting or exceeding or far exceeding expectations in all cases. They have a combination of those. I am not surprised at this. Dr. Kantner's own data, when this was shared at SOARS this year, indicates that faculty at the University of North Florida are outperforming our R1 peers. So it's of no surprise to me that faculty are doing as well as they are. And I don't see the need to create a memo of this kind that is potentially harmful to faculty, that places overreach in terms of what the BOG asked you to do, and overreach in terms of what administrators can do in this process. They have a role in this process. They should not be able to override the entire process. So in terms of how easily replaceable we are, we've also heard rumors that, you know, if we cut the quote dead weight that, again, I'm not sure even exists here at UNF, we can replace these folks with, you know, much higher performers. The reality is we know from sitting on search committees that that's likely not the case, especially not with salaries being what they are at UNF. But also we have data now to support this. So this recent survey conducted of more than 600 respondents in the South in several states impacted by these policies indicates so. And this is specifically looking just at the Florida respondents. Nearly half of Florida faculty saying that they plan to find jobs in other states within the next year. About a quarter of them interviewed saying that they'd already interviewed for jobs in other states at some point since the beginning of 2021. And finally, 85% of faculty is saying that they wouldn't recommend teaching in the Sunshine State to a graduate student or a colleague. I know in my own profession, it's very clear to faculty what's happening here in Florida with post-tenure review. And I think, you know, further kind of advertising what's being offered today would certainly be a turnoff to any faculty interested in coming to the University of North Florida. So to summarize, you're going beyond the BOG. There's nothing in the BOG requirement or, you know, regulation that's forcing you to do this. And again, we point to what's happening at the University of West Florida. Again, post-tenure review is not the place to remedy issues that your team sees with guidelines that have already been approved or with the application of these guidelines in the annual evaluation process. And finally, we still don't really see it as an issue that faculty are generally getting meets or exceeds and far exceeds. You know, these are high performing faculty. They have been trained in environments that are high pressure and require them to be high performing. We have no doubt that they are able to continue to do that here at the University of North Florida. So for these and many other reasons, we're rejecting your language. I am going to offer to Alex to review again what our intention was with the memo for your team to have more specifics again at the table today. We have more time now. We can make sure that what we propose to you is understood. But I just want to wrap by saying this policy, what you propose today, is going to not just hurt faculty potentially, but again, it's going to hurt yourself as an administration who will have to replace us when we leave. Because again, faculty will leave if this kind of memo passes. And if the threats of PIPs are made good on that were offered today. And ultimately will also hurt the students that we hope to attract here and grow the campus community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alex.
Thanks, Angela. Did you have a slide for me to talk on, or do you want me to do it without?
Yeah, would you like to talk about the case study first, or do you want to just go straight to discussing the memo?
I think we can do the case study. It'll be a quick one. It'll help explain the thinking behind that. So you know, as we are professors and as we teach, I just want to present a case study here. And let's say you have a student who earned the following grades on 5 exams in some course called, let's say, UNF is fun. Those grades are 72, 78, 81, 75, and 77. And based on those grades and based on the syllabus, that student expects to earn a C in the course, which is reasonable. But suddenly, at the end of the term, just before grades are due, the department chair hears that a lot of students have received too high grades and decides to review the exams and the grading. So after reviewing the exams, after the department chair has reviewed these exams and compared them to the syllabi for the course, the department chair believes that the student was incorrectly graded and should have earned an F in this course. What is the department chair to do? And the options here are tell the student that they failed the course, so flunk the student, or tell the faculty member that they're not properly grading students based on the syllabus and that they need to make changes next time the courses start, or potentially make some other measures or talk to the chair to make some other changes. Those are the two options. And which one is the right one? Do they fail students after they have earned passing grades? Is that acceptable? I'd like some participation from your team actually here.
Alex, we're going to let your team finish their presentation. We won't
Okay.
be responding mid.
Okay, so clearly you're not responding because, you know, I assume that you agree that you can't fail the student. So because you understand that if you do, then there would be actions taken by the student, maybe the student's parents, or perhaps their lawyers. So let's move on to the next slide. Here is the analogy to what's going on with our post-tenure review. So in one case on the left side here, with a column where we're dealing with the case study that we just presented, the student dealing with the faculty member and the department chair. And the analogy that here for the PTR is instead of the student, we have the faculty member. Instead of the faculty member, we have the department chair. And instead of the department chair, we have the dean. Okay, so the analogy is the exam performance would be analogous to the annual evaluations. The course grade would be analogous to the post-tenure review outcome. The syllabus is analogous to the CBA or departmental guidelines. A passing grade in the class is analogous to meeting expectations in the PTR. The chair's role, which is exam grades are not reflective of syllabus requirements for passing the course. So all of a sudden, the chair realizes that there's some discrepancy in the evaluation process, is analogous to the dean realizing there is a discrepancy in the evaluation process. And therefore, on the left side here, the chair takes action. And the right thing to do, obviously, for the chair would be with the student is to address the problem with the faculty member and not fail the student, okay? And obviously, the analogy would be for the dean to take action and address the problem with the department chair. So the department chair knows to follow guidelines in the future. So this is sort of the thinking that we had when we presented the memo. So if we can go to the memo. And let's be clear, you guys have used the term warning memo. I don't think, well, not only do I not think, it was not what we presented, and it was not in the writing we presented to you. So here was our thinking that we would have a criteria for issuing this memo, and that memo would be only written for faculty members who, according to the departmental guidelines of the CBA, if there is no such guidelines, fall short of meeting expectation standards. In other words, the guidelines were misapplied, and that wasn't caught in the process. Documentation must be provided that there is a discrepancy with the performance and the guidelines. So in that memo, what we had envisioned was to clarify the discrepancies in the evaluation. So there would be some sort of provided detailed explanation to both the faculty member and the department chair how on any discrepancies observed between the annual evaluations and the actual performance of the faculty member. And this clarification will focus on how the performance did not align with the meet expectations criterion as defined by the guidelines or CBA. That would be one component. So outlining how those evaluations were not correct, you know, according to the CBA guidelines or department guidelines. That's number one. Secondly, that memo, we had envisioned that it would provide sort of information on support for improvement. So highlight and outline the support and resources available to the faculty member, assisting them in elevating their performance to meet expectations for subsequent 5-year performance cycle, PTR cycle. And thirdly, that memo should include guidance to the department chair. So emphasize to the department chair that the importance of basing annual evaluations on the faculty member's performance as directed by departmental guidelines, or in the absence, the CBA. And we also felt that any such memo can be issued by the dean or by the provost, but if it is issued by the dean, then it needs to be presented to the post-tenure review committee, and it needs to be signed off by the provost as well. So that is how we had envisioned the memo, which is quite different from how you guys presented it today. And that's where we are.
So Justin, that's all we have for your team at this point. We'd like to send you that presentation with the language around the memo for your team to consider. And yeah, we hope that we can get to a place where the memo is truer in spirit to what we offered you the first time.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I disagree with several points that you made on a factual basis, but we'd like to take a caucus on maybe 15 minutes. It'll be okay. Would it be okay if we came back at 3:15?
Yes, I think that would be good. Thank you, Justin.
All right, we'll be back.
Courtney, I'm not sure if you want to stop the recording.
Yeah, I didn't do it on the last one. I think I have to stop screen sharing.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to. It's
Brandon
wasn't
told
sure.
me. Yeah, he told me about that during BOT. I was like, yeah, I forgot to do that. I
It's
mean, I
okay.
can, but I think I have to stop screen share in order to do it. Do you want me to do it?
Maybe I can do it.
I think you have to actually not be in the screen share mode, because I tried earlier and I couldn't do it. Oh, wait,
Let's leave it then. Let's leave it then, because I don't want to mess anything up.
Okay, I'll remember it for next time, because I actually see the button, but I don't want to mess it up.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think everyone on my team is back. We have Chip and Marianne and Rosemary. Do y'all have everyone back on your team?
We do, and we also have Mark, our vice president, who's joined us.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Hi, I was in class, but I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for making the presentation that you made today. We're going to take it under advisement. We don't have a further response to you all today, but we'll be in touch soon. So thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Shall we talk about scheduling another session?
We'll be in touch soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.